want to take a look at an application involving finding the inverse of a function and using it. We have an organization that has a cost per person for a charter bus given by this formula here. So X is the number of people in the group, and C of X is going to be the cost per person. Right, so in other words, if I have 10 people, C of 10, when I plug that in, would tell me $15 per person. Okay? I want to determine the inverse, C inverse of X, and explain then what it represents. Okay, so what are my steps? I replace my function notation with my Y, and then inverses switch X's and Y's, so I switched all my X's here out with a Y and put the X in for the Y. I've got a fraction, so I want to get rid of the fraction. I'm going to multiply through by the denominator, so the y's cancel over there and we get xy here. And we're solving for y. So now we kind of have a problem. We've got this term over on the left and this term over on the right both have a y in them. We need to get those guys together. And I want to have just a single y that I'm solving for. And a way to make it visually look like that is to factor out that thing that I'm solving for. So I factor out my y, leaving me with a quantity of x minus 5. So I can divide through both sides by the x minus 5. And then I replace my y with my function notation. C inverse of x is equal to 100 over x minus 5. Well, what have we just found besides just another algebraic expression? Remember, the original C of x says start with the number of people and I'll tell you the cost per person. Well, the inverse does the reverse of that. So C inverse of x starts with the cost per person and then tells you how many people you need in order to get that cost per person. So in the first example, we said, well, if I had 10 people, how much would we pay? We'd pay $15 a person. If we thought that was too steep, we'd say, no, we only want to pay $10 per person. How many people do we need to get together? So we would take this $10 and plug it into our inverse function and do 100 over 10 minus 5 means we're going to need 20 people to get that cost down to just $10 per person.